3 Game Developers Drinking Good Arab Tea. I'm your host, Rami Ismail.
And I'm Fawzi Mesmar.
And I'm Osama Dorius.
And that's another week. It was E3 week, wasn't it?
It was a good week.
Busy week.
How did that all work out for you? Fawzi, it seemed like quite a week. Are you happy with everything?
It's awesome, man. I'm loving it. The gameplay trailer was super well received.
Yeah,
and it seems like the community is quite pumped for the new game. So
yeah, I saw that the old games are getting a lot more play now because of the announcement of the new game.
We have to increase the server capacity on a bunch of pretty old games now.
That's good.
Y'all just really went, what if it's Battlefield, but like 20,000%? Like it's like over the top on everything. It's incredible.
That's like, how the design started in this game. What if we crank everything up to 11? How about
That's
that?
the way to go, really. Games need more of that.
I love it. Yeah, you're right, Osama. Like, we really need that sort of like over-the-top game stuff again. Because we all got a little too serious, maybe. For a little while there.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Got a little too brown. We need the color back.
And it's like,
everybody
one of
happy
those
with
things about like getting the the contrast between something that appears very serious and then but you can be able to do some funny stuff in it makes it even funnier. It's kind of like how in Hitman, as the game takes itself very seriously, and then when you're able to pull off some like ridiculous stuff, it becomes even funnier for it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's really. It looks incredible. It looks gorgeous as well. My God. Yeah, good stuff. I don't know how all that is working. I'm not gonna ask either, but my God. The rest of E3 good for all of you? I mean, did you watch any of the other stuff?
Oh
I love the Nintendo showcase, man.
Yeah, it was Metroid 5 or Metroid Dread or whatever you want to call it. I'm so excited for it. I can't believe there's a new WarioWare. What is this?
Exactly. It's WarioWare.
I'm so excited.
There's Advance Wars.
Let's go.
And like they showed a bit of Zelda and like, okay, it's coming out next year. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Like I don't know how I'm gonna find time to play all the games I want to play. It's ridiculous.
And Shin Megami Tensei as well, Osama. Now you're jumping to that one.
Yes, I'll get to it eventually. I guess I'm still stuck in Mass Effect land. I'm very, very close to beating Mass Effect 2 now. I'm loving it, and I'm gonna start Mass Effect 3, and that's another big game. It's gonna take forever before I go back to a regularly scheduled like play big games that come out thing.
How was Mass Effect 2 then?
I'm loving it. And to be honest, I really feel like I whisked through it the first time I played it. Because I'm seeing a lot of content, a lot of missions that I never saw before, or I like absolutely have no memory of. And I'm just savoring it. I'm taking my time with it. I'm enjoying it. And it's great. It aged really well, in my humble opinion. And I think my life circumstances now allow me to play it in a better way than they did back when I played it the first time around. So I'm really, really happy the Legendary Edition came out. I'm really happy that I'm playing it.
So good. Are you through the DLCs yet?
I only have one DLC left, which is the Shadow Broker one.
Wow.
I read a guide that said you could leave that one for last, and I was really eager to finish the game, so I'm like, okay, I'll leave that one for last. But otherwise, I did all the recruitment missions. I did all the loyalty missions. I have everybody on of like a full squad on my team. Yeah.
I personally would recommend you do the DLC before you start on the last part, but
I already started on the last part.
Of opinion. Okay.
Yeah, I already started. Like I'm actually like I can't save halfway through, so I did the shut down the Xbox and quick resume later type thing. I'd be really upset if my kids like launched a different game and wiped that out because I'll have to start the mission over. But yeah,
good
super
Fortnite progress.
No, you know how it is. Thankfully, they play Fortnite on the PS5, and I got this on the Xbox, so hopefully that's gonna keep them away. But yeah,
I mean, speaking of Xbox for 1 second, Flight Simulator on Xbox.
Yes, that's like
my E3
in a month,
like
God. July 27.
I might start traveling with my Xbox as well.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a problem.
Just Game Pass in general, like almost every game announced in the Xbox showcase is coming out Game Pass day one. I'm a huge fan already. Imagine, like, you know how many games I preloaded, ready to go. I'm running out of hard disk space on games I can't even play yet. It's great.
Yeah, but okay, Mass Effect almost done. Have you been playing anything else?
Yes, actually, I finished Backbone, so that the game I spoke
Oh
about
yeah,
a little bit
right.
last week. Yeah, and what a ride! Remember how I was saying last week? Just in the first half of the game, there's surprise after surprise after surprise. Well,
Hmm.
it's kind of exponential. Like it changes a lot after that point. Like Fauzi mentioned at one point that he read somewhere where there's a big thing that happens in Act Three. Well, it's a completely different game in Act Three. It really is. Like almost anything I said before that point is something completely different now. It's
Hmm.
hard to say without spoiling it because the game is almost entirely narrative. There's very little gameplay other than choosing what you're going to say, and it is pretty linear too. It's not like your dialogue. I can't imagine. I've only played through it one time, but I can't imagine like even in some dialogues where I tried to really go off like and go in a different direction, it always kind of comes back to the same thing. So it's pretty linear as a game.
Bringing your renegade streak to Backbone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I really did try. By the way, I know it's an aside, but I really did try to be as renegade as possible in Mass Effect Two. Oh my god, I'm just incapable of it. I look at that, I'm like, no, I would be like a jerk if I answered that. There's no way. Like, it doesn't sit well with me. The
I
only
saw that
renegade.
screenshot you posted, which my renegade run is going really well. And it's just a Paragon bar entirely full.
A
I'm like,
little
okay.
sliver of renegade. The only renegade options that I have no problem with are the action ones. Like the
Right,
in middle of a cutscene one. Those I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, okay, yeah, yeah. I wanted him to shut up at that point too, that jerk, that kind of
right.
thing. But the dialogue ones, forget it. But
I
back to Backbone.
okay, yeah.
So the game kind of changes genres, like at a certain point, which was surprising. And I could see some people losing interest at that point because there's nothing about that that's telegraphed beforehand clearly. Like there's a little bit of foreshadowing, but like you wouldn't be able to guess which direction the game goes at all, which is a good thing in some respects. But for people who are who have specific expectations for what the narrative is, I could see a few people losing interest or not being interested in that direction. I wasn't. I actually was intrigued. I liked the direction it went. It also surprised me. I had to stop and think, do I like what's happening? But the
Right.
answer was yes. And then the game ended way too abruptly. With like, I was like, okay, if this is the entire story, I'm upset. There needs to be more. I need a better conclusion. The world building
Bring
was
back
great
the
up until
Snyder cut.
yeah, it's almost like it ended after Act One. Like
Oh,
yeah, it's really like it really feels like it was an intro to a big world at the very end of and that's not what I would have predicted. Like halfway through the game, with another 2.5 hours to go, I'm like, yeah, they have plenty of time to wrap this up. And then it just took a complete different turn, introduced a completely different like story arc, and stopped. I'm like, what is this? If there's a sequel, all is forgiven because I need to know. I need to have more backbone in my life. If this is all there is, I'm fuming. I'm really, really upset at the devs for just like, you know, leaving me with all these cliffhangers and unanswered questions. So
So, so you feel
yeah,
that like the abrupt end did not like wrap up important story threads.
no, absolutely not. It introduced a whole bunch of different ones. Like you
Okay.
see a character who you thought you knew in a new light. There's a completely different area that's introduced that you don't get to explore. There is a character development that happened to your main character that is just left like just left up in the air. Like a whole bunch of things in the last act that just change without warning, and now the game ends. And I'm like, what? How is this? How is this okay? How are you going to do this to us? So if there's a
Wow.
Backbone 2, like I said, I'm actually going to be the first person in line to play it, and all is forgiven. If there's no intention to have a Backbone 2, I'm upset. Like I want my 5 hours back. this is
The-
that's not how this is not a way to treat your players.
These kind of things always intrigue me because like
right.
like if it's not an indie team, it'll be like deadline, you have to ship
Yeah,
that kind of thing. They kind of go like, all right, we need to wrap up what we have and like just get it out there because we have to.
yeah,
Smaller teams like run out of budget, run out of time, they had to release at a certain time. Like if it doesn't make sense if
Yeah,
they've been like going like consistently building a world and everything has been making sense up until the final act. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Something must have happened, and I'm always very curious about that.
So I think it's one of those two things, those two scenarios that I said. Either they've always intended this to be an episode one, but for marketing reasons they didn't say it's episode one because they want people to buy it and not wait. You know, the telltale wait for all five episodes
Hmm.
before you buy it bundle thing. So it's probably that. And if it's that, I'm not upset. Well, you know, I want the full story and I'm going to wait for it. Or they went the lost route where they're
Hmm.
like, we'll start a story, we don't know where it's going, how about this way, and then, oh well, we ran out of time, let's wrap it up. And if that's the case,
I
then
mean,
I'm upset.
the third point, the third option is they just wanted to tell a story this way, and they actually think that ending it this way is an interesting ending.
Yeah, it's a
Hmm.
possibility, but I cannot see like
You would strongly disagree with that choice.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like if they really thought this was going to be satisfactory, I would like I actually would love to have a conversation with someone who thinks that who thinks, oh no, I'm happy with the way it is. They shouldn't continue because I'm usually that guy. I'm usually the person who's like, no, it's fine. You don't have to answer every question. Sometimes a little bit of intrigue is good. But this is like not that. This is like what's a good analogy? I don't know. I can't say anything without spoiling it for
Right.
anyone
It's a
who
little hard with this game.
It's
yeah,
But
not
I
especially
mean, I
Evangelion.
see what if but
it's
yeah,
I don't know.
I see what you're saying. It's a little choppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Hashtag more backbone in my life.
Right. I just a perfect like you know what? If the team behind it just went like, how can we get people to say I need more backbone?
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
And this is how they did it. Like that was the entire thesis for the game.
Diabolical. It worked.
Brilliant, brilliant. This is the true indie spirit.
Yeah. Okay, so I also watched a TV show that I wanted to talk about. So
mhm.
Okay.
there's this TV show on Netflix that completely went under the radar, and I'm kind of surprised. It's called Sweet Tooth. The only reason I took note of it is because it was a comic book that I had read a million years ago, like 10 years ago, um, and to be quite honest, I didn't like the art, and that's the reason I didn't really continue with the story, even though I like it. And that's usually not something I do. Usually, I could tough out the art if the story's good, but I really wasn't that big of a fan of the art. And I was intrigued because I'm like, I didn't know this comic was popular enough to get a TV show.
Right.
But I started watching it, and I highly recommend it. It is really good. Like it's much better than for what I remember the comic to be. I only read the first like 3 or 4 issues. So
It's
the
on
setup
Netflix,
is
you said?
it's on Netflix, yes.
Okay.
So it's
It's
kind
Game
of
Pass for TV.
yeah, yes. So without like spoiling too much, a world-changing event happens, and it's kind of post-apocalyptic, but not that extreme. And there's this really weird situation where humans are not born anymore. They're any human babies are born as animal hybrids, and that's it. Like that's what I'm going to tell you about this, because anything else and it's going to take away some of the magic. You find that out, of course, extremely early on in the first episode, but it's not the premise, it's not the plot that's the best part. It's really good, it really is interesting, and I want to know more. It's the relationship between the characters that's really something special. It's basically a coming of age story at the same time as it is a story about someone like finding themselves to be able to redeem themselves. Those are really really strong talking points. Yeah.
Is Are we talking like animal like you know
Like half
uh
gopher, half pig,
right,
half
but
monkey.
when we bring animals into this, are we talking more like cutesy animals, good time, or are we talking more like Bambi or like Simba watching his father die, or like which is this like a sad series? Is it like a happy series? What is it?
It goes from one to the other.
Oh my
It's
god.
it, but I think tonally it's not so sad. Like I could watch it with my kids. I think it's like
Okay.
so far I haven't seen anything that's so bad that I wouldn't be able to watch with my kids.
Okay.
It's some serious topics like abandonment of parents abandoning their kids or like things like that. Or so it's not all uh,
On, okay.
super G.
On a scale of like 0 to Bambi.
uh, It's Bambi. Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
Bambi. Yeah, there's still there are a
okay,
lot of heavy moments too. Yeah.
okay.
It's
Well,
produced by Robert Downey Jr. apparently.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
oh,
forgot about that, but that is true. It's true. It is produced by him.
Mm. Produced by Robert Downey
well,
Jr. Filmed in New Zealand.
Yeah, I recommend it. Like honestly, I'm enjoying it. And I think most people would like it as well. But give it a shot. See if you like
I'll
it
check
too.
it out. I'm keen to watch some more TV. Only watching Loki right now. The second
oh,
episode
nice.
I've watched this week.
Huh.
That was
That's good.
What do
fun
you think?
actually. This show is um, it's like it's from the first episodes. It's been going in a direction that I didn't expect at all.
Right.
Absolutely agree. I didn't expect it to go this route as well.
It combines like two of my favorite subject matters is like comic books and time travel. I just love shows about
Right.
time travel and timelines and breaking stuff, and yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
I'm quite.
Yeah.
Have you
It's
guys seen it as well?
pretty.
You watched it,
Yeah.
Rodney?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watched
I
it as
watched it.
well. Yeah, I'm up to date.
Ah, cool. What do you guys think so
It's
far? It's
very
like it's
good.
getting better. Like it's really building my intrigue.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, by the time this is out, episode 3 will be out, so maybe this will be outdated by that time. But just the way
Mhm.
they're building up stuff is incredibly good, and they, that it has that thing that WandaVision did, where there's enough questions to really like talk and theorize,
Mhm.
which I kind of felt like Falcon and the Winter Soldier missed.
Yeah.
I
At the
agree.
same time, it has like momentum. It has like
Yeah.
immediate momentum. The sort of like central dynamic between Mobius and Loki is incredibly well done.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The world is stunning, and
Mhm.
I just really like that they're putting Loki in a situation where purpose becomes the biggest question. Like, because the philosophical debate in at the heart of the series isn't so much about time or whatever; it's about whether you can step outside of your given fate,
yeah,
Mhm.
right? Which for Loki is probably like the most important thing as a god of mischief. It's like, is he just doing what he's supposed to, or is he being mischievous,
But
right?
yeah, it's
Um,
Owen Wilson is so good, man. Like
so
his
good.
character is so lovable, and like he's really the star of the show for me. Honestly, like he kind
mm,
of like commands every scene he's in almost.
yeah, yeah,
He, he does such a good job at making the character, because it's a good faith character, right? Like, this is not, he's not a bad guy. He's just doing his job. He wakes up in the morning, goes to his office, does the thing, checks the thing, destroys 7 timelines, murders 100,000 people, and then just goes back thinking that he did a good job, right? That's kind of who the character is.
Hmm.
And it's kind of wild that he plays it with that level of like, just doing my job, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I can't think about it too much.
Right. He's like
Yeah,
instantly likable because he's like everybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
Goes to do their job, does the thing. Now he has to work with this Loki guy for 3 days. He doesn't really like it very much, but might solve his problem. So we'll deal with it for a few days. But like the way they get tired at each other, the way they're annoyed at each other, like he sees something from Loki in him, I think. Sort
yeah,
of like the rule breaking. But beyond that, he doesn't really care what happens to Loki, and Loki really doesn't care what happens to Mobius, but they're kind of stuck with each other for now.
yeah.
They play off the dynamic incredibly well.
it's
Yeah, it's
it's
intriguing.
it's super interesting for me. Like it's a detective story at the heart of it. That is,
Hmm.
starring a very unlikely anti-hero and time travel.
Right.
So like the premise of all of these like three elements together is cool if it was any character, but add to it that the star of the show is an anti-hero in any way. Like
Yeah,
you trust him, you don't trust him, you trust him, you don't trust him all the time. It's yeah, I'm super excited to
Yeah.
see where
Al-
that's going. I
Also,
don't
the
know.
cleverness of the apocalypse segment, the
Yeah,
Vesuvius
yeah,
segment.
yeah,
so
yeah,
Oh,
smart.
like
yeah.
Loki jumping on the thing and actually giving a speech in Latin,
Yes.
Yeah,
just
yes.
full on speech in Latin. I was just like, oh hey, finally my education is useful. Uh, but yeah, no, and incredibly well done. I just such a blast. Like, Tom Hiddleston is such a blast to look at, and Owen Wilson is really nailing
Amazing
sort of like the
dynamic.
gravitas. Like, ooh,
Absolutely.
very good stuff.
So I'm curious
Super
how
cool.
these like really interesting shows are actually getting greenlit at Marvel because they seem like they're so out of left field. I'm happy they are, by the way. I'm just this is surprising. Like WandaVision to start, that kind of premise where it took a lot of guts. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier was a little on the nose. Like that's not surprising at all. But Loki as well, and now What If is coming up. Like I
Right.
loved. I don't know if you've read the What If comic books back in the day, but I loved the What If comic books. I'd never in a million years would have
Osama, can
expected
we
that.
make an agreement? If you say
Yeah.
like, "Hey, did you read this comic book?" I didn't. You know too. You know too many comic books. Like, you just come with like, "Did you read this 1987 edition of that and that?" I'm like, "No, I wasn't born yet. Like, I have no idea."
I think that's
I
actually very accurate. I think What If I read in
yellow
about
holy.
1987. I'm not even kidding. But like, I don't know if you know anything about the What Ifs, even if you haven't read them. But they're like,
I don't want to start and flip this, so I can ask you: have you read this manga, Osama? And
yeah,
Right.
I haven't read many of those.
This is just a future episode. Is we're just gonna grill Osama about comic books, and then
Yeah.
it's gonna be a really sad episode when we realize he's read all of them.
At some point, like I did read almost everything that came out. Like between 1991 and 2001, that was my heyday of comics. Since then, a little less, but yeah,
That's amazing, man. Yeah.
I
I
love it.
think I'm a lot more manga focused, where you were a lot more comic focused.
Yeah, I read a few mangas too. I loved
I was
Blade of the
3 years
Immortal.
old.
Yeah,
So
okay, that's fair.
I couldn't read yet, folks. Please,
You go back to
That's
the
fair.
classics, Rami. It's like classic rock.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I mean, I'm excited about What If because I've sort of understood the premise, right?
Yeah,
But I think mostly I agree with Osama. Like it's just really cool to see so many experiments in the in the Marvel universe because they don't have to do that,
yeah,
but they are. So
and it's paying off, and I'm
yeah,
so happy it's paying off. That's
yep,
probably going to greenlight more experiments.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Uh, I also played video games.
Oh,
Uh, I continued to play more of Resident Evil 8, actually, in broad
oh,
daylight.
the Rainbow Edition.
The Rainbow Edition. It's like
It's the gla-
it's kind of like, Swedish summer is the perfect time to play horror games. And it's like I can pretend that I'm not that scared as I'm playing it. But
but also
actually,
everybody can see how scared you are on your face.
also yes, quite
Yeah.
clearly. And I can blame the glare on the screen for me not seeing anything. Uh, but seriously talking, the more I play Resident Evil 8, I would say that it's not as scary as Resident Evil 7.
Hmm.
And it's because it's closer to Resident Evil 4 than it is to the original like survival horror roots. So
Hmm.
Resident Evil 4, when it came out, it kind of took the series in a lot more action direction than survival horror. The previous games were all about you got to preserve your ammo. You lose progress if you get attacked. You're limited on number of saves. It's all about the puzzles and atmosphere, and it's not really about killing the monsters. You're trying to avoid the monsters most of the time. In fact,
Mhm.
Resident Evil 4, were like I think it's one of the biggest things that it gave to video gaming is that it gave us the third person action camera that we are still using till this day.
Mhm.
Over the shoulder camera that's been used in any third person game that you're playing.
Mhm.
But it also drove the series towards a lot more action focus. So it wasn't like, you break crates and you find ammo. You can roundhouse kick zombies. And it's more about aiming and shooting, and you're surrounded by a lot of zombies or monsters or whatever. And then, like, you mostly want to shoot your way out, and puzzles took a back seat. It was a very controversial decision at the time,
Yeah.
but like, for a lot of people, Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games ever made. Um, and this game takes a lot of that cues. When I was talking about it, not last week, but the week before, I was talking about like the early scene was a very reminiscent for me of the early village scene from Resident Evil 4. I think the game continues to build on that. There is more puzzles later on, but like they're not difficult puzzles to solve per se. And there is definitely a lot of focus on like if you can easily get ammo, and if you're surrounded in a room with a lot of monsters, you can shoot all these monsters to move
Hmm.
forward.
Hmm.
Therefore, it doesn't like really rely on a lot of jump scares, or it relies on like building a lot of that sense of dread of going like I am completely helpless around this,
Right.
because you have the firepower most of the time to deal with this. I found it also very funny about this game is that Ethan, the character, this is not a spoiler because if you played Resident Evil 7, you've probably seen a lot of that. Like the dude gets like munched on, stabbed in the gut, loses fingers, and I find it just hilarious because like at some point, like a monster just jumps in like very early on in the game, jumps on, eats two of my fingers, and then like in first person the guy like produces the medical liquid and like puts it on like pours it on his hand, and then continues to wield a gun. So like he's already in three fingers, he just like poured some liquid on it and it's like, all right, I can now shoot, no problem, handle the recoil.
We're we're good. We're good.
We're good. So like and it's like in a video game language, I am sick, I consumed the plant, and now I am better. It's a video game language thing that I'm fine with. But it seems like in most video games, the cutscenes almost always ignored that game language
Yeah.
thing, you know? But in this game, like the cutscene happens, like, just lost a kidney. he would he would put some liquids on himself, and then now he's back and he's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
it's it's
I've
hilarious.
seen discussion about that. It makes me, yeah, it seems funny. Uh
So like when it happens, I just I laugh about it, but I almost admire the consistency there too.
right.
Then like this is the magic potion that will heal all wounds. I just lost a finger, sure, I'll pour some of this stuff on, and now I'm good
We'll deal with
again.
it.
Meanwhile, every other game, you're getting shot at left and right, and in a cutscene, one bullet hits you and the character dies,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
which is what
Exactly.
we're
No.
used to at this point.
Funnily enough, the Mass Effect universe had that same thing where
Yeah.
it was also like, oh, I got shot in the stomach, I'm bleeding out. Here's some Medigel. What is it? We don't know. How does it
Yeah.
work? We don't know. Are you healed now? Yep. Get up. Let's walk.
Yeah, and it
You're
happens in a
dying of a
cutscene.
virus? Medigel? Let's go.
I remember actually that happened in a cutscene in Mass Effect 2, and I took
Right.
note. I'm like, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's
Yeah, no, they
precedent for it.
100% they 100% lean into the Medigel thing. They also they also lean into this Omnigel thing because in Mass Effect 1 they had Omnigel to
Mhm.
fix lots of things.
Mhm.
In Mass Effect 2 they kind of realized that was nonsense, so they actually say that it went down because of a security vulnerability, and that's why Omnigel doesn't exist anymore. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. I guess we need to explain why this stuff doesn't exist anymore.
Looks like it exists in the Resident Evil universe.
Right? Yeah. Fixes everything.
You
I
just
found
started
it.
some fan theories that they exist in the same universe
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Resident Evil and Mass Effect, they're actually in the same. What I find it like really cool, like now Capcom with Resident Evil, is that like they've always had the main series and like the spin-offs, and the spin-offs were always like a little bit almost like B tier to the main series.
Yeah.
Right.
But in modern time, like the past 4 years, I would say Resident Evil has become the two branches. There's the first person Resident Evils with 7 and 8, and whatever 9 ends up being, that'd be interesting. And then
Mhm.
there's the third person Resident Evil, which is like been the remake of Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's like, whatever your flavor is, those are two games that, exist within the same lore and universe and have a lot of shared DNA, but play very, very differently.
Right.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
found like it's a
I,
very interesting direction that they've took the franchise towards.
Yeah.
yeah.
Metroid kind of has a similar thing too.
Yeah,
The
right?
2D
Like,
Fair.
Metroids and the Metroid
Fair.
Primes.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is honestly one of the most interesting things I've been doing all week because I'm still in quarantine, right? I'm still in Canada, and I ran out of games. I finished Ratchet and Clank. I mean, obviously, I watched Loki. That was
Mhm.
fun. I finished Ratchet and Clank. That's good. It's very good. It's incredible. It's smooth. It's beautiful. It's really well paced. The two characters play exactly the same, but still feel entirely different.
best Ratchet and
Uh,
Clank?
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay.
think so.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very solid. It's very pleasant. Ratchet and Clank style smart level design. Every level has sort of its own gimmick, its own like trick to work with, but you get to carry all the gimmicks with you to the future worlds.
Hmm.
But just done really well. There's like they're using the sort of like super fast loading thing. They don't use it too often, but when they use it, it really works. There's one level where you switch between two dimensions continuously.
Hmm.
That works really well as well. Just overall, just very fun, very pleasant, easy to get all the optional things done. Um, Incredible boss fights, especially the final boss is just woo. Rivet and Kit are two lovely alternative heroes, and yeah, just stunning, absolutely gorgeous video game. Makes no sense whatsoever. I think everybody who worked on this should be arrested, and just because it's making all of us look bad. It's just not agreeable. This is
does it
unfair.
does it
Can't deal
take
with it.
advantage of the PS5 controller?
Yeah, it takes control, full advantage of it as well on controller, on weapons. Half trigger charge, like
Nice,
slow down trigger, rumble, super well done, or
nice,
haptics, dual sense, whatever you call it. Um, yeah, they use everything on the controller,
cool.
literally everything. So yeah, really well done.
Is it a
I
Microphone
long
too?
also
game?
Like, do you get to talk to the
uh,
game?
no, they don't use the microphone. They use everything sensible for a Ratchet and Clank game on the controller. Uh, but yeah, no, it's not super long. It's like an 8 hour, I think,
Uh-huh.
eight like 8-ish hours,
Oh,
8 to 10
nice.
hours. But
I can't wait to play
um,
it. It's on my list.
Yeah,
yeah,
same as
just
Yeah.
on my
just
list as
go.
well.
It's like from the first few minutes, it's like you're in that, and you kind of just don't want to stop. It has that problem where you're really waiting for a loading screen. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna keep playing until I hit a loading screen. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, grab a drink, and then like 6 hours later, there's still no loading screen because there just is no loading screen.
This
Never,
is
there
Gen
is no
5. There's
loading
no
screen.
loading screen.
There is never a loading screen. I was so at some point, I'm like, there has to be some point that we're jumping between planets. There has nope. Okay, we keep going. Um, so yeah, beautiful. Did I mention Final Fantasy VII remake integrate intermission inter whatever it is the
Is
DLC?
that a DLC? I didn't even
That's the
realize it had
DLC.
DLC.
That's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
PS5 DLC, isn't it? It's not like on previous gen.
So there is a PS5 DLC, but that just updates the entire experience to PS5. The intermission DLC is a DLC that allows you to play a short in between story featuring Yuffie.
Uh-huh.
The
Intergrade? Is that the one?
intermission integrate. I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
Whatever it's called. Um, Either way, it's good. 6 hours back into Final Fantasy, and just like with Final Fantasy VII Remake, every character plays its own way. And for Yuffie, they have a really cool way of dealing with her like super ridiculously, hilariously oversized ninja star thing.
Hmm.
Um, and
Hmm.
she has this new. So every character has its own gameplay gimmick in Final Fantasy VII, and for Yuffie, they did a thing where she can synchronize with Sonon, who is her backup buddy, her
Hmm.
the second main character in the series in the game,
Hmm.
and they use that mechanic in such a clever way. When you're synchronized, Sonon doesn't build up action gauge as fast, but your attacks do way more damage. Um, and they do this really cool synchronized fighting in the animation. Some real good technical animation stuff going on in here.
Rami, you play
Um,
as Yuffie.
yeah, you play as Yuffie. Yeah, you
That's
play the
cool.
entire DLC as Yuffie.
That's cool.
Okay, and
Okay.
And
I'm asking for a friend.
okay,
As somebody who played and finished Final Fantasy VII Remake when it came out, which I think you did as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
This DLC came out. What did you do in order to play it now that you are an owner of PS5?
So what you do is you download the PS5 update,
Uh-huh.
but do not delete the PS4 version. Then you go into the PS4 version, you go into the menu, you choose upload save game. You upload your save game, then you boot up the PS5 version, you download the save game, and then it unlocks. It unlocks your save game. and that becomes available again. And then you can select the DLC by hitting R2 in the main menu.
Okay.
Hmm.
I
So it's
looked
a
it up,
little
by the way.
complicated.
Intergrade is the visual upgrade. Intermission, you're correct, is the DLC with Yuffie.
What is
So
it up with Square? What? Why? What
Two
is wrong with
turbo.
them?
It's integrated two turbo DX
What? What
plus
happened and
alpha.
why did that happen? Anyway, really good DLC. It wraps up by sort of like wrapping it back into the main storyline of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So if you want a little bit more information on what's going to be coming next for Final Fantasy VII Remake, I would really recommend you jump in and play with Yuffie. Yuffie is very different from Cloud. You either love her or hate her. There's not really an in between.
That's very similar to
Um,
Cloud. You either hate him or
right.
love him.
Right. If you hate Cloud, you will probably love Yuffie. If you hate Yuffie, you will probably love Cloud. To be honest.
then I will love
Um,
Yuffie because
Yeah.
I'm not a
yeah.
big fan of Cloud.
Very excitable. She's a bit useful. She can be a bit mean, but she doesn't know she's being mean.
Good.
That kind of character. So yeah, that was really good. Beyond that,
Somehow you
yeah,
don't like
watch the
mopey
No, no, those
anti-hero.
angsty anti-hero thing. I do not like that. If I had my way, Wedge would be the main character of Final Fantasy VII. I
Yeah.
love
well.
Wedge.
Cloud's
Okay,
definition
then
of being cool, he just says whatever to everything. You want to save the
right.
world,
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
Beyond that, E3. I finished watching E3. Indie stuff was really good. Uh, so many games. I'm going to talk about those in a future episode or something.
Mhm.
But yeah, mostly I don't know. Like mostly, I've been sitting around. I'm waiting for Mario Golf Super Rush, Super Mario Golf Rush, Mario Rush Golf
Whatever
Super,
that
whatever
is.
it's called. The golf game. Very excited.
Me
And
too.
I'm sweating to death in this apartment. That's about it.
Oh
That's
no.
about all of it. It's really warm in Montreal.
Yeah, it is. It's very hot here now.
Do you have air
It's really,
conditioning?
really. They're one of those rolling ones that you have like a big like what do you call it like a tube going out the window.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The apartments in Montreal aren't built for heat. I
Yeah.
think
No, no, no.
a lot of them anyway.
But see,
Um,
as hot as it is here, it doesn't get as hot as like in the Middle East. I remember like when I visited Iraq. Oh my god, I thought I knew what hot was, and it does get pretty hot in Montreal. But there's no comparing. There's no comparing. I
I
don't know.
feel here's the thing. I don't think that so between Egypt and Montreal, like Egypt is like 40 something when it's real
Yeah.
hot, right?
Yeah.
Montreal gets 40 something,
Yeah.
but I think Egyptians have built their entire culture
Yeah.
around it being hot,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's true.
They Montreal is built around in summer it's 40 degrees Celsius plus, and in winter it's 40 Celsius degree 40 degrees
Minus.
Celsius minus.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows what's happening. In
That's true.
Egypt, it's like it's hot, and then when it's cold in Egypt, it's still like 20 degrees.
It's still
Yeah.
warm.
Right, right. But like in
Yeah.
Egypt, like it gets summer, like the all the cool food comes out. The day moves to the night. You don't
Mhm.
go out in the morning. Like day starts much later.
Yep.
Batig on every watermelon on every street corner.
Man,
Uh,
one of the
all
best
the mango
things.
drinks,
Oh, yes. No,
ice in them.
In
absolutely.
Egypt, they have this thing I love in summer is عصير قصب السكر, which is like sugarcane juice
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that you can
Sugarcane
buy.
drinks. Yep.
Sugarcane drinks. It's the same stalls that they sell the mango stuff. But
Yep.
I'm not sure if you guys have the same in Jordan. Like it's summer when there's tents everywhere, and there's people selling watermelons in the tents.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like they're
Absolutely.
at the back of pickup trucks, or there's tents, and there's people that selling watermelon, and they sell the watermelon by the knife. They say. So like you don't just buy a watermelon blind. The guy is so confident about his watermelons. I'd be like, I'm gonna slice any watermelon you choose, and it's gonna be red, and I have the knife to prove it.
Yep.
Right.
And like
Absolutely.
for us, like when it gets really hot, it's always a lot of apartments or like houses in Jordan. They have like, especially if you're on the ground floor, you have like a grapevine that you use like for shade,
Mhm.
and then you put on the plastic tables outside. My mom or like my grandma will come out and she would like have a bucket full of water and she's like she makes sure that the floor is wet
Wet.
so that
Yeah, the ground is
it
wet.
the ground is wet so it cools off the
Hmm.
temperature because it gets to 45, 46 degrees.
Hmm.
And then like ice cold watermelon is served with hot bread and white cheese,
Yeah.
Oh,
sweetened white
okay,
cheese. So it's
okay.
kind of like halloumi cheese, but it's like you leave it in the water for like you soak that white cheese in water and you leave that in the fridge for like 5 days or something like that. So it's not salty anymore. It's not sweet, but it has like a very nice flavor to it. And then you eat watermelon with white cheese and some hot bread.
Oh, that sounds so good right now.
It's
And
it's
That's,
it's summer.
don't forget
I need some watermelon right
the
now.
tea. Actually, drinking tea in hot weather cools you.
That's
Uh,
right. That's
and it's
right.
been like, and like it sounds counterintuitive, but it does. It raises your internal body temperature, which means that you're going to sweat more, which actually overall cools you down.
Yeah.
And it's something that everyone in the Middle East knows, and sounds so counterintuitive otherwise. I have a memory actually, because like my father's family grew up in like in the country, like it's farmer nation.
Hmm.
And the house of my uncle, when I visited, this happened specifically when I was 16 years old, my uncle's house, the middle area, like what you would consider the living room, is more like a courtyard. And all the rooms have their own doors that lead to this outside area, courtyard. And one day it got so incredibly hot, it came very close to 50 degrees Celsius, and the sun was like beaming, hitting you hard. And at noon, what people do is they either nap or they stay in those rooms because and they keep the doors closed, so it keeps the temperature of the inside right. It doesn't have time to go up to the temperature of the outside. And oftentimes, if you could afford it, you have AC in those rooms. So you have like these little cold boxes. So my uncle was able to have AC in every room. Every room had AC.
Right.
Nice.
And I remember I went to visit at that time specifically. It was with my mother and my sister. And they were in a different room. And I wanted to go outside and walk to their other room. It's just a short, like I'm talking about 20 steps. It's not far at all. And my uncle told me, wear a hat, put something on your head. It's hot outside. I'm like, no, it's like it's a few steps away. So I stepped out of this air conditioned cold box into the 50-degree heat, into
Oh,
It
the
hurts.
other cold like room, and fainted. I just
Right.
collapsed.
wow,
Yeah.
the
No. I mean, I get
Yeah,
nosebleeds. I get nosebleeds immediately if I try that. Like
man,
I don't
that's
yeah,
know how
like
to, but like the walking into the heat from an air conditioned from a properly air conditioned room into like the proper heat is like getting punched in the face.
yes,
Like I swear to
absolutely.
God, it's like, and like no, most of the time it goes well, but if my nose just starts bleeding, I'm like I'm half Dutch.
Yeah.
I can't like. I wear the leather jacket. I joke I'm Egyptian. If my nose starts bleeding in Egypt, I joke I'm Dutch. Like we can't deal with that. Like, come
he's
on,
got an exit either way.
right?
I actually had some friends visiting from the Netherlands once, and I took them to the Dead Sea, and
Yeah,
we were by the pool. And then, when it's summer, um, like you jump in a swimming pool, and it's like jumping into a bathtub. It's lukewarm water if you're
right,
lucky. And like
Yes.
I'm sitting by the edge of the swimming pool in the shade, but I didn't realize it gets really hot at next to the Dead Sea. It
Mhm.
got up to 50 degrees. I thought I was
right.
napping, but I actually woke up, like 5 minutes later with somebody like splashing water in my face and like light slaps because I
Yeah.
also fainted. It was so hot.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think like because of that, like the heat, it gets dangerous, right? So like
It does.
like people's daily routines kind of shift.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
lunch is at 4, right?
Right. Right. For
Like
sure.
a breakfast is maybe at noon,
Yeah.
and like dinner is totally acceptable anywhere between 11 p.m. till 2 a.m. Like the
2
nights are
a.m. Yeah,
awake.
exactly.
Yeah.
The
2 a.m. is
nights,
kind of like then you're too late. If you're
Yeah.
2:30 for dinner, that's like Yanni, come on,
yeah,
you got to eat at some point.
Yeah.
yeah. The
But
nights are alive because
yeah.
during daytime. who wants to go anywhere? So like
Yeah.
nobody would make plans before 5
No.
or like 5:30 p.m. because you go like, are you kidding me? You're gonna like burn.
I would genuinely be upset. I would be so upset if somebody like, okay, let's go out at noon. I'm like, what?
No. No, it's you don't feel like eating. You just feel like drinking. You get full just from like drinking all the time to stay
Right.
hydrated.
Did
You
you
don't want
did
to
you
eat.
also do that thing where you got like water bottles and you put them in the freezer for like 3 days or like until the water was well and frozen, and then when you would go out, you would take one of the frozen water bottles because they'd
Yep.
be back to cold water within like 20 minutes.
Yep.
Yes, man. Yes,
That's how warm it was.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like the survival one. You
Right.
grab one of these with you so that they will only remain solid for like 2 minutes once you're outside,
Right. Exactly.
and then they're
Ah,
melted in no
remember
time.
remember if you get too thirsty and you're just like you open it up and you throw the bottle backwards and the ice just smashes into your teeth. Did you ever do that? I did that as a kid all the time. That'd be too much ice to go like oh, ah,
We did that with
oh,
like Coke and Fanta and other stuff as
right,
well. We're like freezing
Yeah.
everything
right,
because if you're leaving,
yep,
you want to get as much like cold drinks as you can with you.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like 6 bottles of water in the back of the car for when for when the car stops moving, and one frozen bottle of water for when you stop moving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually remember how your body really gets accustomed to the heat, and it's not what you think, because you can't get used to heat that hot. But what I mean is that nighttime is cool in comparison, but nighttime is still like 27 degrees. It's still
Maybe more
hot.
sometimes. Yeah, it can get to like
Yeah.
right,
33 degrees at night.
Yeah. But it feels cool in comparison. Like you're like, oh
yeah.
yes, the sun is gone. We could emerge.
Man,
But it's also like the rays of the sun. You feel them, right?
Yeah.
Like during the day, like you genuinely feel them. It's a wild feeling.
Yeah. In Iraq, we have both like really dry climate and like really humid climate, depending on where you are, and it makes a huge difference because if it's like really cold, sorry, if it's really dry, then you can step in the shade and it'll make a difference. But if it's really
Right,
humid, you can't escape the heat. It
it
just
doesn't make a
follows you
difference.
everywhere. No,
Right.
like barely. Like yeah, you'll save yourself a little bit of the heat from the sun rays, as you mentioned, but the air around you is thick and hot. It just follows you everywhere.
in some of the more like humid cities, like in Dubai, for example, like
Yeah.
in the midst of summer, it will be like 46 degrees, but it also be so humid. Like the minute I step out of anywhere, my glasses will fog out immediately. Like
Right.
they're foggy. I can't see it. The minute I step out of the plane, actually, like into
Right.
the air
Yeah.
conditioned bus, there's a split second in which my glasses are just foggy and I can't see anything.
Yeah.
People take they take cab rides or their cars for something that's usually like a 2 to 5 minutes walk because you can't walk those five
You
minutes.
shouldn't.
You'd be drenched in sweat almost
Yeah.
immediately.
What
In Jordan, I
what
had
is
this problem with my car, obviously my piece of junk car, because it used to
I love this
overheat.
card so much.
It used to overheat
How
all
does
the
it
time.
overheat as well? It turns off when there's rain, it turns off when there's sun. When does this car drive you, Fauzi?
Is it parked like 24/7 every day?
It's like at exactly 18.6 degrees we can drive. Like what
But I know everything about fixing cars because of that thing.
Good. Good.
Everything about like, oh, this car overheat easily. Like I turn into a mechanic in 3 seconds. I can fix any car just
right.
because I drove that thing. Yeah, like I had to carry like buckets of water with me all the time because my car could overheat
We
at any minute. I needed
we
to
also
fix it.
always had bottles of water, to be honest. Like that, but that's just the car. Like cars aren't. I feel like cars are built for Japan, Germany, and the United States of America.
Yeah.
They're not built for the Middle East. Like no car
No.
is built to drive in 50 degrees Celsius. Like that's not what cars are meant to do.
No.
It's wild. Yeah, no,
Well,
we had bottles of water always with us, just in the back of the car, and if they were out, somebody was getting in trouble for not refilling them.
Yeah, of course.
Uh,
It's
yeah,
dangerous. You could really get
yeah,
dehydrated.
right. Yeah,
man,
no,
I'm
it was
like like we have a heat wave in Europe right now, and like keep telling like people like, oh, it's a great. People go like, oh, it's a great opportunity to get some tan or something like this. For
Oh,
some reason, I don't know why, I am like the most genetically ill-equipped person to be from the Middle East. I'm like the palest, the palest Arab man I know. Like I can't tan no matter how hard I try. I'm instantly either completely white or burnt. There's no in
Wow.
right.
between.
Wow.
There's like no in between era for me. And this is one time like
White
I
Fauzi,
was
Red
out
Fauzi.
in the sun, and I was like, and my car broke down, overheated, of course. And I'm like, all right, I need to find like I need to go to the shade as much as possible. And I could feel the sun on my back of my neck, and I go like, I'm gonna protect my neck. I thought I was being smart, so I'm gonna turn my cap in reverse so that the brim of my baseball cap is protecting my neck. Of course, of course, I forgot that my baseball cap had an
Oh,
opening.
the
Uh,
hole. Oh,
Oh
yeah.
no.
I know
Oh
your head. Oh,
no.
no.
Oh
so I had a
no.
red shaped hole on my head for like a good 10 days.
Oh, oh no.
And it started peeling. It was funny.
Um, you have pictures? You got to show us pictures.
I didn't take it was like pre iPhone, like when phones didn't
Uh,
take photos, and I didn't take that many photos that era. Well,
I
luckily
don't.
take
for
good
me.
ones.
Luckily for me.
I don't burn easily, but it's a weird thing. Like in like what when it gets really hot, what do you wear? Do you wear short sleeves or do you wear long sleeves?
The short sleeves, as short as I
I
can.
usually I usually go longer sleeves for that.
In the Middle East, I go to full dishdasha, like the full
Right?
robe, the gown.
Oh man.
Like
Yeah, just
there's
cover
nothing.
everything.
When it's hot, it's the best
Yeah,
thing. It's
for sure.
because
Yeah.
you're moving and you create a current of air constantly. If as long as you're moving, there's nothing like it. It's
That
really, yeah.
now that's a photo I want to see.
No,
I have photos of
actually,
me in
me too.
dishdasha. I'll find
Me
it for
too.
you. But it's
Nice.
really
Nice.
hard. The problem is I'm tall and they don't make them tall enough. So they always look short on me. They always like come up to just above the ankle, which is not how short they're
It's
supposed to be.
supposed
You
to
look
be
you
right.
look
Yeah.
like a sheikh in
Yeah.
that outfit.
A little
A little-
bit.
I'm Osama, but like with a cap as well. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the full
Actually, I
perfect.
have a picture of a dish and a Nike cap. How did you guess?
Nice.
Back then, I wore brands on my baseball cap. I've evolved since then.
Nice. Yeah, I was a really picky kid to buy clothes for because I never wanted brands on anything.
Yeah, me either.
I think my parents got really tired of me with Ramadan shopping for new
Me,
clothes. It's like,
I didn't
how
mind the
about this
brands,
one,
and
friend?
then I evolved into a Rami where I don't like brands.
Oh, wow, wow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just really feeling like watermelon.
Oh, yes.
Well,
My kids love watermelon. As you probably know from the Sahur
Is
bite,
there
where my kids made an appearance.
is there a good place to get watermelon here in the city, Osama?
There's a really good place called Sami Fruit. They usually have, if they have watermelons, because they don't have them all the time. They only have them when they're seasonal. They're smaller, but they're really, really red and very, very
What
sweet.
season is watermelon if not this season?
exactly. It's summer
It's
season.
yeah. I think it still like comes in and goes, right? It's not like it's always there when it's hot. That's not the season that we're talking about, right? I'm talking about when they
Okay.
actually pick it up. Because Sami Fruit,
All right.
it's whenever they don't. It's not consistent like the grocery stores where they get it imported from all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
You know,
not like
All
that.
right. I'll check it out.
Another fruit that is associated to summer with me is figs. Where like
Yeah.
Oh
figs
yeah,
grow a
figs
lot
for sure.
in our
Yeah.
region, and like fig trees is a very common sight. And like when figs when it's summer season, you can buy like a box of
Yeah.
figs
Right.
for like
Some
$2 or something like this. I remember like my horror when I first moved to Tokyo, and I like
right.
saw them. They were selling a fig for $17. And
Right.
I'm
Right.
like, and I'm like, I could buy like a ton of figs with that amount of money.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
No, that.
fruit is quite expensive in Japan, but like especially fruit like this that grows naturally in the Middle East, like
Yeah.
watermelon or figs,
Yeah.
quite expensive
Right.
over there.
What is lychees? Lychees?
Oh, lychees. Yeah.
Lychees. I somehow I have them connected to summer as well, but I don't think they're particularly a summer fruit.
They're
I just
tropical, aren't
ate
they?
them more in summer.
This was
Yeah,
warm
they're
all the
tropical.
time, whatever you're having lychees, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always warm when you're having them. That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
yeah,
that somehow they're connected to them as well. I
Yeah.
like those. I'm
They're
not a
in
huge
season
fan of
for
figs
sure because
myself.
we got them in our veggie box last week, so they're in season for sure.
Oh, nice.
That's the only way I know
Anyway.
when something's in season is if it's in the veggie
All
box.
right. Well, I'm gonna go back to sweating. I think for the rest of the day. But
Sounds like
I
fun.
think I mean it's really Montreal is just it feels like it's not built for this heat.
No, it's
But
definitely not. But it's okay, Rabni. We have ice cream shops, and as soon as your quarantine's over, I'll take you out for some ice cream.
I know. I'm also stuck inside. I mean, if I could at least sit like outdoors, that'd be great. But I have the government calling me every like 12 hours to be like, "Are you still inside?
Wow,
Hey, are you still inside?"
that's
And
intense.
so I don't know. I'm staying inside. I'm being good. Like
At least someone's checking up on you. It's sweet in a way.
yeah, I wish they were less automated robots, but that'd be nicer. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited for the quarantine to be over and for new video games to come out. I can't wait for Mario Golf. But
And Mario Party,
for
right?
now-
I hear you're a big fan.
Oh,
of that.
I will fight you. I will never. If I can never play Mario Party ever again, that would be a good day.
Oh my God, Rami, you and I definitely on the same boat for this one. As much as I love most Nintendo games, I hate the Mario Party games.
Wow. Okay.
I would rather go sweat in a small room for 16 hours than play Mario Party for 1 hour.
Mario Party drives me nuts. I can't.
I'm the exception because I love playing them with my kids because they have just randomness and catch-up mechanics, so I don't have to let my kids win because I could play as well as I could.
But you also can't make your kids win because you don't know who's gonna win.
That's exactly the point. But because
what
it's
life
random,
lesson is that?
None whatsoever. But there's an age for kids where Mario Party is perfect for them, where you could have kids of all ages and all try their best, and it's a coin flip of who wins.
And all will have a horrible time besides the person who wins. Like literally everybody will hate it. Even the person who wins will hate it because they know it's not deserved.
Even the
but
person
maybe
who
I'm
wins,
just not the right answer.
The
yeah,
person
like,
who wins
hey!
goes like, "Oh, looks like I won." Oh, how
yeah,
about
it
that?
seems. I was 26 stars behind, but Toad came up and said, "You're switching stars with me," so I got all your 26 stars, and then I got 4 bonus stars for having the most stars.
I'm so
What's
happy
up with
I
Mario
went through-
Party?
I'm so happy I went through all these mini games in which you all like ganged up on me, and I wasn't having fun at all. And then I rolled this dice, and now I won. What a great game!
I mean, if I want to play good mini games from Nintendo, I'll play WarioWare. Thank you
Exactly,
very much.
WarioWare,
the new one is
Rhythm
co-op.
Heaven.
I'm very excited. Very excited. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Thanks very much for listening. If you want to come hang out at the Discord, we are discord.thehabibis.com. You can check out all our episodes on your favorite podcasting app or on youtube.thehabibis.com if you're more of a video kind of person for some reason. We don't have faces on there. We just have a little waveform, but it took me a lot of work to make that move from the right to the left instead of the left to the right. So go check that out. That was like seriously 3 days of research.
My god.
Anyway, thanks so much for listening. This was another episode, and salam.
Salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I was Rami Ismail, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at @THA_Rami. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Fauzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fauzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. The intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubaila, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and salam.